Artificial intelligence, not the cause of most job losses. Hey everyone, it's Wolfgang. So there was an announcement today. It was a little bit of a surprise. The US labor market slows, corporate profits drop, the lowest since 2020. So the lowest corporate profits in about 5 years. But artificial intelligence is not most of the cause of this. And I'm going to explain why. I'm going to go through everything and explain how AI is not at the root of the problem here. But this was sort of an unexpected announcement because the peculiar thing is the U.S. economy is actually still growing. It's expected to do well this year. It's just that there are some parts of the economy that are weak and others that are strong. So it's kind of a mixed bag. So one of the issues that has come up is U.S. companies are not really hiring too much. They're not doing mass layoffs, right? But they're not doing a lot of hiring. There is some hiring. I will tell you which parts of the economy are hiring, but there are some that are not. For example, retail jobs in retail, like brick and mortar, are being affected by high interest rates. Anything that needs to be financed, like on a credit card, for example, is being affected by high interest rates. Amazon is taking a lot of the retail business away from brick and mortar stores. We've been hearing about that for a while. But in general, retail jobs right now there's not a lot of hiring in retail jobs. Government jobs, we know that hiring for government jobs is way down because of the new government, the DOGE activity. Real estate jobs, the real estate industry is kind of crushed right now, not doing well. Interest rates are too high. I covered this in yesterday's video. Media and publishing. Now, there are some parts of the economy that are being affected by artificial intelligence. Media and publishing is one of them. So the drop in hiring for media and publishing is mostly in entry-level jobs. Artificial intelligence is being applied to the kind of work that entry-level employees in media and publishing were previously doing. Software jobs. There are some software jobs that are weak, but there are other parts of the software industry that are doing quite well. I will break down what those are. So healthcare and finance are being affected by artificial intelligence, but mainly entry-level jobs, sort of like with media and publishing. Entry-level jobs in finance and healthcare are, some of those jobs are being done by artificial intelligence systems. So U.S. companies are not hiring that much in some parts of the economy. In other parts of the economy, there is some hiring, and I'll discuss that as we go through this. So right now, there are strong U.S. companies, and then there are some weak U.S. companies, types of companies. So the stronger companies are in artificial intelligence and semiconductors, computer chips. You know, companies like OpenAI, NVIDIA, companies that are supporting the artificial intelligence build-up and rollout are strong. Consumer discretionary. Now, this is very important to note this. Consumer discretionary means that consumers are spending. They have the discretion on whether or not to spend, and they are spending. Despite the fact that the labor market has slowed, there's data that suggests consumer discretionary spending is healthy. Tesla is doing well, Amazon is doing well, and other companies, other consumer discretionary companies are doing okay. Not the luxury side, but just consumer discretionary sort of at the lower levels. Consumer staples like Walmart and Costco are doing okay. Consumers have not stopped spending on things that are regularly needed in our lives. Food, things for the home. So consumer staples are doing well, consumer discretionary, artificial intelligence, and semiconductors. Just an example of some company types that are strong, that are doing okay. So if there's going to be hiring, it's probably going to be on this part of the spectrum, the artificial intelligence and semiconductor side. So the weak part of the job market, the real estate industry, like I said, it's kind of crushed right now because interest rates are too high. So there's not a lot of activity in the real estate industry in most parts of the real estate industry, commercial and residential. So the drop in gas prices, right? We're all happy about lower gas prices, but that has hurt some of the energy companies like ExxonMobil and Chevron. So some of these energy companies are weaker because of the drop in gas prices. Construction materials companies not doing too well. Construction materials, when real estate is weak because of high interest rates, that affects connected types of industries like construction materials. Interest rates are high. Not a lot of building is going on. There is some in some parts of the country, but not consistently throughout the country. So construction materials, those companies are on the weaker side of the economy. Luxury goods, not in good shape for more than one reason. Luxury goods are hurt by the high inflation we had over the last couple of years, 2023, 2022, 2024, and high interest rates. Luxury goods are often bought on credit, or some portion of the purchase is on credit, and interest rates being high, that makes people not want to purchase higher end luxury goods if the interest rates spike, and they have. The interest rates are high. So the current situation in the economy is a kind of a mixed story. The economy is improving slowly. If they would lower interest rates, I covered this yesterday, then the economy would improve at a more rapid pace. So our thinking is, we've looked at this announcement that came out today. The U.S. labor market is slowing and profits are lowest in 5 years. I think the Federal Reserve is going to have to pay attention to that and finally come to terms with, I mean, if you watch yesterday's video, I pointed out that the Federal Reserve is acting incompetently. They're being incompetent. They're using the wrong tool, monetary policy and interest rates, to try to have an effect on cost push inflation. If you watch yesterday's video, I explained the difference between demand pull inflation. That's the kind of inflation everyone's familiar with, when too many people are spending too much and everything goes up in price. Demand pull inflation. Cost push inflation, I explained this in yesterday's video, is when companies just decide to raise prices regardless of consumer spending. Cost push inflation right now is being caused by some companies wanting to raise prices because they think tariffs are going to hurt their profit margins. So I think the Fed is going to have to pay attention to the announcement that was made today about the slowdown in the labor market and the drop in profits, lowest since 2020. That's huge. The lowest profits in 5 years. That's going to get their attention. So we think that the Fed will lower interest rates sooner than we originally thought. Had they not made this announcement, it was probably not going to happen, interest rates being lowered until later this year. But now they'll probably have to do a drop in interest rates sooner. The economy in the U.S., it is improving right now, even with the high interest rates. If they lower interest rates, we'll kind of be off to the races. We'll be in better shape in terms of hiring. Right now, hiring is slow. However, that being said, if you're looking for work in artificial intelligence, machine learning, gaming, computer gaming, those are hot sectors right now. You can still find hiring in those parts of the job market. So some other things I didn't have room for on the board. Consumer spending has increased by 1.8% in the first quarter of this year, 2025. Consumer spending is up. That's what I mean. The U.S. economy is improving slowly, but it's improving. Personal income also rose slightly by 0.5%, by 0.5% in March of this year, March of 2025. Business investment is strong because so many businesses are investing in artificial intelligence. So business is investing in the economy. Very good. And there's a lot of new manufacturing arriving inside the U.S., and it will continue to arrive over the next 4 years. So that's a good story too. More jobs, more manufacturing jobs. So even though hiring has slowed, the job market has slowed, the number of people quitting has dropped through the floor. People are not quitting their jobs. They're holding on to their jobs. That is good news. That's my recommendation for anyone in this economy is, companies are not doing mass layoffs. So if you're working, you're probably not going to get laid off. The problem is if you don't have a job and you're looking for a job, companies are not really doing a lot of hiring. So you want to try to hold on to your job if you have a job. They are still claiming that the gross domestic product of the U.S. will reach 3% now this year in 2025. So 3% GDP is good. Unlike China, the U.S. is sort of a mature economy. We do have growth in some areas, but 3% GDP for an economy that's somewhat mature is good. That's really good. And so it's a very decent amount of U.S. growth. Another side of the mixed story is that deregulation and tax cuts are helping the U.S. economy, especially the deregulation part. If you try to build a house right now in the parts of LA that are damaged by fire, you cannot get a permit. There's too many regulations. I heard somewhere recently that of the thousands of homes that have been destroyed, that were destroyed by that fire in Southern California, only 18 new permits have been issued to rebuild homes, 18 out of thousands of homes. So that's regulation hurting that economy there. Think of all the jobs that are not being created because only 18 homes have been approved for being rebuilt. They're probably going to end up rebuilding with fireproof materials, not wood, obviously. But the fact that they're not granting permits for people to rebuild their homes is pretty darn sad. Pretty darn sad. So if you live in California, you've probably heard of the Coastal Commission. They don't want anything built. And so the Coastal Commission is hurting those homeowners who are trying to rebuild their homes. The Coastal Commission is like a dictatorship of, no, we're not going to let you build anything anywhere. It's a real, I ran into that. I bought a home in Malibu and I ran into issues with the Coastal Commission. This was several years ago. So the deregulation will really help the economy. It's not going to help California, but it'll help the rest of the country. The deregulation is very important for a lot of sectors in the economy. So the U.S. economy is improving slowly. If the Fed takes notice of this and drops interest rates, we're going to be in good shape. So, but going back to the main point, artificial intelligence, not the cause of the job losses. The real big deal is the interest rates. I mean, artificial intelligence, yes, it's affecting entry-level jobs, right? But that's just a small percentage of the jobs. The high interest rates, that's really doing a lot of damage. Real estate jobs and things related to real estate, like when people buy a new home, they buy appliances, carpeting, different kinds of flooring, tile, new windows, new window coverings, sometimes roofs. They'll put a new roof on, plumbing, landscaping, electrical stuff, lighting. All that money is not being spent because interest rates are too high. The real estate market being down is really hurting the economy. And hopefully the 5-year low of corporate profits will make the Fed realize the bolts are too tight. The bolts are too tight. The interest rates are too high. So if you have any questions about this, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have if you want to post in the comments. I mean, the good news is the AI threat to jobs, it's not really the big factor that's causing this. The labor market slowdown. It's contributing a portion, but not a big portion. The biggest problem is elsewhere. It's interest rates. And also uncertainty about the economy in general. You know, companies are not really sure where things are going with economic policy. There's a battle between, you know, what's going to happen with tariff policy, what's going to happen with interest rates. Hiring is slow. So companies and people, even though they are spending, consumer discretionary is okay. Consumer staples are okay. They're not buying luxury goods. All right. So people are not confident enough to spend the big dollars. So interest rates need to come down. So if you have any questions, please post in the comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. And I really want to thank everyone for watching and have a great day.